rushing torrents of river race towards the ocean, so these heroes of the world of men rush into your flaming mouths. Arjuna describes using two examples of how these people are entering into the mouths of the Supreme Soul. The first example is given here in this verse, that just like the many forces of waters and rivers race towards the ocean, so these heroes of the world of men rush into the flaming mouths of the Supreme Soul. The verb be means to race and also to dissolve. So the rivers race towards the ocean and dissolve in the ocean. They fit into the ocean and become lost in the ocean. In the same way, these heroes of the world of men rush into the flaming mouths of the Supreme Soul. The word vatrani is used, which means it is the plural for mouth. These men entering into the flaming mouths of the Supreme Soul. In the same way that the river is flowing and rushing, and the force with which the river gets lost in the ocean and enters into the ocean, so do these heroes of the world of men rush into the flaming mouths of the Supreme Soul. We must understand the metaphysics behind this. Why did Arjuna give the example of meeting the rivers and the ocean? There are two reasons for this. The first is that the ocean is a place of refuge for rivers. At the same time as place being refuge, the ocean is also the place where rivers descend from. Rivers descend from the ocean. We know the water cycle, that because of the sun's rays, the water in the ocean boils, creates steam, clouds begin to form, the rain falls, and rain can fall anywhere, whether on mountains, on the ground, or anywhere else. Small streams form, and when those streams join together, then rivers are created, and in the end, the rivers come and meet the ocean. One who looks at rivers sees them as if rivers will go to the ocean and will be finished. They see that when the rivers go to the ocean and become finished and disappears, then there is something that is obvious right in front of them. A small child can look at them and say that they'll go and meet the ocean. But in order to understand that rivers descend from the ocean, one needs wisdom. This is because this is not obvious. You cannot see the clouds that form out of the ocean. You cannot see the steam and the clouds that are formed out of the steam. It does not come to one's mind that when the rain falls out of the clouds, then this rain is from the ocean. It is a very clear thing to see that rivers go and meet the ocean to disappear into the ocean. But in order to understand that rivers descend from the ocean, you need to be prepared both mentally and intellectually. In the same way, the entire population of animals and humans, beings, enter into the Supreme Soul after death, because if you look at death in this way, then when rivers combine with the ocean, then it is the death of the rivers, because the rivers become finished. This is a very important event from the perspective of spirituality. But if you look at it from the physical perspective, then it is the end of the river. It is the death of the river. Death is a very physical event. It can be seen and everybody can see it. But birth is an extremely subtle event. This event cannot be seen. And birth is not just when the child comes out of the mother's body. This is also a physical event. But even scientists now believe, and it has always been written in our scriptures, that birth begins when fertilization takes place in the mother's body. Many people ask questions in today's times whether abortion is sin or punya, the opposite of sin, and whether you should do it or not. People say that life begins after 5 months. This is wrong. The individual is born right from the germination. The moment fertilization happens, then at that exact moment the individual is born. It happens in the first moment, in the first day. This is because if the life were not there, then there would be no possibility of fertilization and no need for fertilization. This is not possible. If you look at it logically, then why did fertilization of the male sperm and the female egg take place? This is because a life is needed. This is the reason. It happens at that moment. What I mean to say is that birth is an extremely subtle event which people cannot see. People cannot even think about it, such as this event. Death is a very physical event. Just like when rivers meet the ocean and this can be seen, death can be seen. Does the person who experiences sorrow at the time of death have gratitude to the Supreme Soul at the time of birth? Otherwise, does a person who remembers the Supreme Soul when he gets sorrows in life also understand the Supreme Soul's accommodation and the Supreme Soul's grace during times of happiness? This is because we are very sensitive about our sorrows in life. When we get sorrows, then we begin to think about them a lot. We think about where the sorrows came from, how they came, why they came to you, etc. We get so many questions. Do you not think about, or do you think about all of this when you get happiness? Do you think about where it came from, how it came, and why it came to us? When we get sorrows, then we always start to remember God. Somebody will say to do one thing, and somebody else will say to go to the temple and offer milk to God. Somebody else will say to offer oil to God, and somebody else will say to offer leaves to God. Another person will say to read some verses, another person will say to perform name chanting of some mantras. We do all of these things when we have sorrows, and we should do them. I'm not trying to say that we should not do them. We should certainly do them. This is because if they become the means for us to remember God, then this is a good thing. But when people get happiness, then do you think that they would do 2 more mala, turning of prayer beads or chanting the name of God because happiness has come? No. Rather than that, in fact, if they were doing 2 mala a day, then they cut them down to 1. They think that what is the use now of doing it? We can understand sorrows, whereas happiness is subtle. If we can experience the Supreme Soul's presence in sorrows, then why can we not experience the Supreme Soul's presence in happiness? Why does a feeling of gratitude not arise to happiness? That is why Arjun is giving the example of the rivers and the ocean. The entire matter of water has descended from the ocean and also moves towards the ocean. Now this is the second reason why Arjun uses this example. In the same way that the entire matter of water is descending from the ocean and also moves towards the ocean, the entire population of creatures in this world has descended from the Supreme Soul and is also making movements in order to fit into the Lord. No matter where you see a person going, you, I, and all of us are all going into God, whether laughing or crying, whether having performed sadkarma or dushkarma, divine acts or demonic acts. In each and every way, gods go there and humans also go there. This is why Arjun has described before in this 22nd verse of this chapter, Gandharva Raksha Sura Siddha Sangha Vikshante Tvantimaschitta Salve. The host of Gandharvas, Rakshas, Asuras and Siddhas all gaze at you and are quite amazed. This is because the Supreme Soul is the ultimate point and they cannot go anywhere else apart from towards the Supreme Soul. There cannot be any other destination apart from God. The difference is only whether we go there with understanding or without understanding. If we go there with understanding, then there is bliss in going there, and if we go there without understanding, then there is fear. We have to go there. Each and every creature is moving towards the Lord. Arjun gives the second example in the next verse.